we're going to do it better than that party. No, we'll do it better than them. Trust us. No. We're talking about the wrong thing. We're talking about the wrong thing here. No party is going to be able to do it better than the ruling party because they control everything. They control the central government with everything. If we want to implement any of these fantastic plans, we're going to have to take power back. And that's the only way we can do that is to say to the ANC, listen, there is only one province, and potentially two, because the Northern Cape is also tipping in the balance. There are one, maybe two provinces that you do not control. And if you don't start listening to us, we're going to get damn serious, sir. If we get a majority, we're going to declare this place an independent country. Only with that threat can we start to make demands that they can listen to us. You don't have to agree with the Cape Party. You don't have to agree with everything that we stand for and say, I don't know, I think Cape independence is too extreme. But if you at least accept that we have got the only thing on the table that is a meaningful threat, that we can threaten them. You might not get independence, but let's threaten them with it, and only then they'll go, okay, wait a second. Whoa, we had our way for 22 years here. These people, they can't stop us. We do whatever the hell what we want. We tax them to death. We give them nothing back. No one can stop us. And this is the case with the DA. Even though the DA is the national, the main opposition, they're toothless. They can't do anything against the ANC. When it comes to practical things, the ANC does whatever they want. So we're saying is if we want real political change, we're going to have to get serious and make real political demands. And the Cape Party is saying, let us push those demands for Cape independence and get them to open their ears to what we have to say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. This question is for any of the candidates, but obviously most practically for Mr. Pringle. So I'm hypothetically speaking. So in the Western Cape, 185 billion rand leaves the province. Of that money, we only keep 20% of it. So it's clear that one of the biggest problems that we have in this region is a lack of funds. If you had 4 times more of the budget than you currently have to play with, to do what you want, whether it's to protect this man's family from the crime epidemic that they have, or to put resources into other areas of your ward that needs these resources, is that money you would reject, first of all? And if you would accept it, how would you implement that into the lives of these people here?
Thank you. I have listened very carefully. And one of the things that I see missing from a lot of this debate about we must have independence or all these things, somebody else is stealing our money, etc., is the fact that democracy is based not actually about politicians. It's actually about you. And on the third of August, you get to decide. Not us. You do. And so, in response to the question about would we accept the money or would we reject it, of course we would accept the money. But I'd like to make another point.
So give us independence.
Isn't it a better option to rather take, because why do we want independence for the Cape? Because, as I've said, under the Democratic Alliance, we are a shining beacon of exceptional governance in a sea of mediocrity. Isn't it better to spread that brand of good governance elsewhere in the country? And the Democratic Alliance is doing exactly that. We are going to win in Port Elizabeth. We have a very good chance in Joburg, and a very good chance of winning in Pretoria, perhaps with a few smaller parties. It's far better to do that, in my humble opinion. And if we don't do it, then we can certainly have a look at all the other options. But let's give it a go, because from what I'm seeing out there, from all of you are seeing, it is a very real chance that this brand of excellent governance that we have here in Cape Town under the Democratic Alliance is being eagerly lapped up elsewhere in the country. That's why.
That still doesn't address my question.
No. Would we reject the money? No.
So would you not make better use of having 4 times more of the money into doing what you say you can do in the rest of the country.
Absolutely. But the point is this, in order to do that, we have to win a national election. In order to do that, we have to start local government together. The people out there can see the difference. And the people out there, ladies and gentlemen, do you see the difference?
Yes.
But look, sorry, I'm afraid that's clearly not true. Just like your colleague over there.
They're not lying.
You know, what do you mean? They're not like you said a lie. I'm sorry, but you don't have to win the national elections to have the Cape keep 4 times more the money than we are giving over to our enemy, the ANC.
Well, I think with the greatest respect, it's probably going to be easier for us once we've won those other metropoles on the 3rd of August to actually take over the national government than it is going to be to achieve independence. But that's just my opinion.
People, I'm Carl Pint. I actually want to think that we must address policies of parties. Then everybody can say the policy. But before I go there, I just want to indicate percentage of what, how the people voted in 2011. To go to the policies. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, but we did say earlier on if somebody, I think if you've got a question,
Yeah, I've got my question. I've got my question here. The question is what I want to address to every single person on the stage here. What is their policy to affirmative action? And if everyone can get clarity on that, then I think we can move in a direction by addressing policies and not what will you do, not
okay,
do.
so that's your question.
Policies is the main purpose.
Okay, the policy on affirmative action, Jack, start.
Okay. The Cape Party is against every form of racism. Affirmative action, Black Economic Empowerment, Employment Equity Act is outright racism. And I want to call the DA up on one of the core issues that we found in dealing with the coloured communities in Mitchell's Plain, Delft, Lavender Hill. And I would love to get some opinion here. I know I've spoken to high officials here. We've got sub-councils. But the policy of the DA is they are giving 80% of houses on an ethnic basis to people who are not the majority here in the Cape. We've spoken to coloured families who've been on the housing list for up to 40 years and are still homeless, whereas you've got people, because they happen to be black, getting houses over and above coloured communities. So we would be against affirmative action, Employment Equity Act, and any policy that discriminates against people on race. And here in the Cape, it would be first come, first served. Coloured communities that have been on the housing list for 40 years, no matter, they should get houses first. It shouldn't be distributed on race.
Stuart, do you want Benedict to answer that question?
Can my colleague just deal with the housing issue quickly?
So I
I
just want to ask about the policy and not other issues. What is the policy about affirmative action?
I think it's pretty clear what the policy is.
Because that's not a policy for me.
Yeah, we're against it, and we're against the DA's policy of racism and allocation of housing.
I'm just going to ask my colleague.
Either Benedict must respond or you must respond.
I'd like her just to respond to the issue, but there have been 2 issues raised.
Yeah.
Can she just respond to the issue of housing, because it's not
Yes.
really the affirmative action issue. I'll deal with the affirmative action.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much. I'm Benedict van Minnen. I'm the Maker Member for Human Settlements in the City of Cape Town, which means I'm responsible for delivering housing opportunities to people within the City of Cape Town. Since 2012, the City of Cape Town has provided 32,000 housing opportunities to people in need, which means people who earn less than 3,500 rand a month. It is not based on race, it is based on how much people earn. The 3,500 rand is set by national government. In terms of how we deliver in terms of our our database in the City of Cape Town. Currently we have 305,000 names on that list, which equates essentially to 1 million people. When we actually deliver to a certain area, we have a target group for people in that area, and we deliver on that basis. There is absolutely no issue about delivering to coloured people, to black people, to white people. It is a matter of need, who is highest on the list, who has been waiting the longest. And that is something that is audited, and I'm more than happy to show those results.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to direct my question. At the moment, we've got residents here from Libertas who are getting threatened with eviction, which, as you know from social welfare, is one of the rights against old people, retired people.
Sorry, David,
Not to
I
be evicted. No, just hang on. What are you doing sitting on the board of the Helderberg Society for the Aged? That is my question.
Yeah, we'll come back to the, if we want to do the thing on
And what are you doing for the people at Libertas?
Yes, I do sit on the Helderberg Society for the Aged board. I'm the council representative on the board. The Helderberg Society for the Aged is a non-profit organisation that has been operating in the Helderberg since the 1950s. I also wish to remind Mr. Lepan of the response that he received from the Speaker of the City of Cape Town. It is a matter between the Society and their residents in terms of a lease agreement. He has now sent that to the Public Protector, which is his right to do. However, in terms of the council is not involved with a private organisation and its residents. I would, however, add that the Society for the Aged has sought to engage at length with the people in Libertas. However, due to the very public involvement of certain individuals and the fact that they find it very useful to grandstand on this issue, they have now encouraged a great deal of the residents of Libertas not to engage with the society, with the result that it is to the detriment of all. We're hoping going forward that relationship will be repaired and the residents will be able to engage with the society. I also at this point would like to point out the society has public AGMs, which also has audited financial records, and people are welcome to attend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, this lady's been trying to talk for the last 20
There are a lot of
minutes.
people trying to talk here. She has my eye, don't worry.
One of the biggest difficulties in responding to any question about affirmative action is that you can wind up, generally speaking, about a number of different things. Affirmative action, on the one hand, means representativity over alles, and generally is equated with cadre deployment and jobs for coals. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have affirmative action is racism, out and out. It has no place anywhere, and it was just totally scrapped. And then you have the real definition of affirmative action. So the affirmative action is the removal of barriers which are created by policies and practices to the employment or advancement of persons from designated groups. The designated groups are black people, and there it's the BICO term black, so it includes coloureds and Indians, black Africans, women, and the disabled. And
so men are excluded.
Unfortunately, white males are in fact. Yep. But it is not about what we refer to as affirmative appointments. Affirmative action are the action steps which one takes to remove those barriers to advancement and employment. And it is the corrective measures which an organization takes in order to remedy the effects of those unfair policies.
Point of order here, Mr. Chairman. They're asking a direct question. He's giving us an education level. Can you get to the point?
What is
Can you get to the point?
I can also throw slogans around.
No.
But that is an actual fact. So in other words, what I'm saying is that the Democratic Alliance's approach to affirmative action is not about jobs for coals. It is not about color and racist demographics. And I'll use a very good example, because that is national government's approach. And that's why up to 30 to 40% of posts at national government level are frozen, because they can't find the right fit in terms of color. Whereas in the city of Cape Town, between 5 and 10% of our positions are vacant, because we do follow fitness for purpose. We do encourage training, job shadowing, mentoring. We do move towards representativity, but we do not make appointments based on race. And similarly, we actually do not either dismiss Because affirmative action can never be an absolute barrier to employment or advancement of people not from the designated groups. And that's precisely what my colleague was referring to in that judgment that was handed down recently with the correctional services workers, and it's been reiterated in a number of other court cases. The case of Barnard.
Stuart, we've got to move on.
I'm
This is vague. Come on, man. This is vague. I'm going to ask Andre to tell us that because the question is very simple. I mean, what is the party's view on affirmative action without defining? We've done that.
The party's view on affirmative action very easy.
No, I'm going to give Andre the floor now. For their part.
Thank you.
For my part, it's a simple one. Affirmative action is blatant racial discrimination. Racial-based racial discrimination, and we say it must be scrapped. It must be done in another way. You know, one of my major disappointments in the new South Africa, and we are accused from the previous regime that we were whatever people wanted to call it, I don't know what. But one thing that I thought after 1994, well, apartheid is gone. We've been pressurized to hand over to a new democracy, they call it. I don't know how democratic it is these days, a new democracy. And what concerns me is that the brakes were taken off, but no job-creating capital investment is coming to South Africa.
Thank you.
And my argument is, we must work towards economic growth, job creation, so that everybody in South Africa can have a job to look after himself. But we will not accept affirmative action because we regard it as blatant discrimination. The one point made by Councillor Pringle here surprises me. He says no, Biko says black includes colours and Indians. When it suits the ANC, Mr. Biko is no more in favour.
Biko wasn't an ANC member.
I don't say that. I say he's not in favour with the ANC as far as his ideas are concerned. Because the ANC at the moment classifies. If you have to apply for a job, you must classify yourself on the form. You must say, I'm black, I'm coloured, I'm white, or I'm Indian. And I think that's wrong.
Thank you.
Can I just reply to the one question?
The lady there with the question, eventually. We come to you, promise you.
Sorry, David. You can jump from one to the other.
Just doing the first debate at the moment.
But you skipped and you went to the lady about liberty.
No, but that was continuing the other thing. We're continuing the
give me an opportunity afterwards.
Maura?
Okay, I think, you know, we politicians, and I've been criticised for generalising about us politicians, but we kind of want to simplify things and say that everybody in South Africa is the same. Well, clearly we're not. So, affirmative action, what our president is saying is that there are groups in society who go to the same school. So, I'm white and I have a black son. Now my black son goes to Bishop's. He doesn't, but let's say he does. He goes to Somerset House. He goes to Somerset House. It's a private school. He has exactly the same opportunities as everybody else who is empowered. Why should he be favoured? So, however, there is an issue of representativity, and there are issues around people who haven't had the opportunities. So I think what Monsieur Lakota is saying is that affirmative action needs to be implemented advisedly, if it is implemented. So when you have somebody who hasn't had the exposure to opportunities, what you need to do is to create an environment in which that person can grow and flourish and develop those opportunities, develop those abilities in order to then fill a job at a later stage. Somebody who's had all the opportunities, well, if there are two people and one happens to be black and one happens to be white and one is my son and he's the black child, tough luck. He had exactly the same opportunities. Yes. So what he's saying is that, you know, we all need to have opportunities. He goes back to the Freedom Charter, which says South Africa belongs to all who live in it, blacks and whites and every shade in between. So
thanks, Mike. Thank you very much.
Okay, first of all, what I'd just like to say before I go into this is, I think most of us came here because the invitation said an introduction of all of these guys. They would introduce themselves to us and then we could all answer. This is a political debate going on here, and I think that's upsetting a lot of people here who want to put people want to think. So just on that note, I have a question for Jack. At some point or other, I'm a human and legal rights consultant. Some call me an activist, others have called me a lot of other names. I, at some point or other, have tried to be through each one of these parties on certain issues. I've either had help or haven't had help, but I've hit walls a lot of the time on a lot of issues for a variety of reasons, and everyone knows it. I have two questions for you, very brief ones. One, why an independent country per se? Why not an independent state, i.e. like a bit like the USA type concept? Point one. And point two, if you were to get that independence, how would you address all this stuff? Because there's a lot of mud and sludge and stuff in the pot that you're going to be holding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, man. Good question.
Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful questions. And that gets down to the core of what the Cape Party's vision is. The Cape is my home. This is my land. I love it more than anything else. That's why we're called the Cape Party. That's why we're trying to do what we're doing for the Cape. I would promote people in KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo and other parts of South Africa and other parts of Africa to look at our history and understand how these countries have been formed. Colonialism, one of the biggest evils that colonialism brought to Africa was arbitrarily setting borders through different ethnic groups, cultural groups, religious groups, and you then got democracy imposed on this foreign political system where one group ends up taking over the levers of power and they use that to oppress others. So I would promote what we want for the Cape, because I know this is the best for the Cape. This is the only solution. I'll tell you why it is. I would promote that for other parts of South Africa, for other parts of Africa too. So that's an answer to everyone there. Why is it so good for the Cape? Well, there's one country around the world that is the shining example of what type of political system we would want here in the Western Cape. It wouldn't have to just be an independent country. It could be, South Africa could remain what we are, but we'd have to take the constitution, tear it up, and put a new constitution in place. And what that constitution would have to look like is something that Leon Lowe and Francis Kendall were discussing in the 1993 Codice Agreement, and it's modeled off something called direct democracy. And it's a system that they use in Switzerland. Switzerland is not actually a country as such. It's 26 individual countries. There are 26 cantons in Switzerland, and each canton has got complete veto voting rights over the taxes they pay, the policies they live under, all sorts of issues. So you've got German speakers, you've got French, you've got Romansh, you've got Italians, and through World War I and World War II, across the borders, you had French and Germans slaughtering each other, complete national clashes between these ethnic groups. Yet within Switzerland, not a single bullet was fired. Why? Why did Switzerland survive through World War I and World War II with not one single bullet being fired? Because their political system respects each other. And this is what we need in South Africa, and this is what we're proposing in an independent Cape Republic. We would put in place a system of direct democracy, where it doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Xhosa or Afrikaans or English, whatever it might be, your community has got complete veto control over the types of policies you live under. And this is the only way you prevent one group from oppressing another.
Second question.
Second question.
Pot, sludge, mud. You're holding a pot full of stuff. So
Yes.
you get independence, you get the country, but you're taking over a Cape that's got just stuff, lots of stuff.
Okay, all the issues that we're dealing with. The reason that these problems are so bad, sorry, I'm talking. The reason these problems are so bad is because of centralization. And you immediately solve these problems when you reduce the distance between community and government. The shorter that distance, the more transparency, the more accountability. Everyone knows what the canton mayor has spent his taxes on because his name's John and he lives 2 rows down from you. And the bank account is transparent. Here, we send our taxes all the way up to Pretoria. We don't know what Jacob Zuma is doing up there. You know, we just see Nkandla and all these things appearing, and there's no accountability. So just by changing the political and the economic structure, all these problems would begin to dissolve. Money solves many, many problems. So as I mentioned earlier, with an extra 140 billion, we only have 45 billion, and we're surviving compared to the rest of the country. If we had an additional 140 billion, those economic issues that we're facing, those would begin to dissolve.
So if I understand what you're saying is at the moment I live on a road that apparently is a provincial road, not a local road, and they need to ask province for certain permission to do something, and that's going to take ages, and then is there a budget for it or not? Whereas if it was all within one, I'd be able to go, hey, I need this road fixed, could you do it? And it's in the budget at the moment.
You would, have you would have the telephone number of the person who was responsible for that road. You would have access to your transparency on the bank account to see that your taxes were spent on that and wasn't spent anywhere else. And if that politician stepped out of line, there's 5 checks and balances in direct democracy. Referendums, initiatives, recall, nullification, and voluntary secession. What those things are, referendum is where the people themselves vote on a matter. Britain just did it now to get out of the European Union. So they've had their Brexit, we want our Cape exit.
As David Davis says, you know, he's going to cross that bridge when he comes to it, you know, when the mess turns up. But it is a little bit like undoing a sort of a stew, isn't it, you know? Trying to sort it out.
Well, I was just curious because we're hearing about what they want. I just wanted to see if they had a next step.
There's a gentleman at the back there.
I've got more to say, but it's fine.
Sorry, Jack, we need to move on.
Thank you. Councillor Pringle, you done a great job for the day in the Western Cape. We thank you for that. Yes. But very well with the red guy you put using that was trying to bring us back to our podcast. So 19K and start with thinking of 2029.
So that's a lazy response. That's a lazy response.
I'm quite concerned about this debate. I highly want to debate highly because we're here for the service delivery, which I think now we're voting for service delivery, all of us. Yeah. Not about cutting this cake down and cutting or whatever. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's his opinion. But I would like to ask to the lady of the COPE to save South Africa, as I see on the board also, as I also follow her for that. What service delivery you can do about the shacks here in Cape Town, about them people were making noise and throwing the dirty in an airport in our specification places, which is very important. What COPE have for that people? In order, I'm trying to say the land, because the people are crying for the land. You can give me food without shelter, I'm nothing. Yes. My dignity is on the housing. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. You know, once again, there's no quick and easy answer, and anybody who's expecting quick and easy answers is going to be disappointed, whichever party you choose. So the party, what our president is saying is that we need to look at integration of communities, and unlike the DA that are putting up developments all over the place, we hear about another one going up in Somerset West to get rid of the problem people. Obviously for white or people of money people. What is
actually all that?
Sorry, what? Yeah, I would very much like the school that's going to be in. Yeah, sure. Okay. So the answer is that what we